All right, and welcome back to this little series I have going on. Trying to find a main in Virtua Fighter. We're going to try Brad today. So Brad's always a character that I've always really liked to play, regardless of whether or not I'm good with him, because I just find him fun. You know, he's got all that juking and jiving and all that stuff, even though it doesn't really work out when fighting the computer because they just input read you most of the time, at least on the higher difficulties. Like, you can give him the jukes of the century and it won't matter because he'll just input read you and interrupt you and stuff. So that's the unfortunate thing. Like, it kind of sucks when you find a character you really like to use, but it's just not great against a CPU because they just input read you. So all the tricks that would work maybe against a actual person would not work against the CPU. Like I said, it's a shame because, you know, doing all the juking and stuff is what I love to do with Brad sometimes. And I don't think Brad's that hard of a character to use or understand, you know. He's pretty simple. You got to keep aware of what moves transfer into the jukes because sometimes you can accidentally do one when you don't mean to, because all you have to do to go into one of those is to put a direction on the D-pad, which is very easy to do both when you mean to and when you don't mean to. So you got to be careful about that. And, you know, he's decently fast, got a lot of nice little moves and stuff, so he's definitely a character that can kind of rush down and kind of bully a character a little bit as long as, you know, you keep the momentum up. But that's kind of hard to do in a game like Virtua Fighter when sometimes a lot of the other characters are just as fast, if not faster. By the way, I've noticed I get this route a lot. Like when you press start at the arcade, you go on, I think there's like 3 different routes or something, 3 or 4. And I seem to be getting this one because it's the same people all the time for the routes, so it's kind of interesting. But no matter what route you take, the final boss is always Akira because he's the best character in the game, probably. Especially when the CPU is using him. Because they don't have to worry about, you know, all the hard inputs of his moves.
So, who's next?
So I talked a little bit about in the last video, like, Revo made some changes, and some people have been saying that Eileen went from, like, one of the worst characters to actually being really good. I wouldn't know, because, like I said, I don't really pay attention to the competitive side of things. But I did see some people who do play Eileen, they were doing pretty good, so maybe that is true. Actually, wasn't there some like controversy about her having this move that like infinitely staggers you? Hopefully, if that's true, they fix it. I think I saw a clip or 2 of that on Twitter of her like infinitely staggering someone. You know, when I first played Virtua Fighter 5 a long time ago, I tried to make Eileen like my main, which might not have been the smartest idea because if it is true that she's one of the worst characters, you know, probably not a great idea. Well, that was a nice little read I got on her. But yeah, I tried to make her my main. It didn't really work out too well, and I haven't used her since. So when I get around to using her again, we'll see how much I remember of my early days of Virtua Fighter. You know, it's funny, Virtua Fighter 5 is the only Virtua Fighter game I've ever played. I mean, I've been playing it for years because it keeps getting re-released, so it kind of feels like I've been playing different yet the same game the entire time. It's weird. But yeah, I was never into fighting games way back in the day too much. Like, I would play one on occasion, but I wasn't really into them, and since Virtua Fighter was like a Sega franchise and I didn't own any Sega consoles, yeah, it was only when they actually like went to other, I don't know, were they on other consoles besides Sega consoles? I honestly don't know. Like I said, I got into fighting games with Street Fighter 4, and then I wanted to seek out other fighting games, and that was the first time I played Virtua Fighter with Virtua Fighter 5. On the PS3 too, which I heard wasn't the best version because it didn't have online. But you know, that's the console I play fighting games on at the time. Look at all those jukes and jiving, it didn't mean a thing. She blocked it all.
Round three. Ready, go!
Okay, there we go. Matches are getting a little intense. Also, something I need to learn how to do is recover when I hit the ground. I know how to do it, it's just that for some reason in the heat of battle, I always seem to forget that that's a thing. Yeah, like that, see how we immediately recover like that? I never do that, as you can see. Sometimes I try and it just doesn't work. You gotta get the timing right and stuff. Probably should have sidestepped that instead of blocking it. But like I said, I always forget to sidestep. That was a good sidestep. Whoop, there we go. Sidestepping is a thing of beauty in this game. I can't help but wonder what Virtua Fighter 6 is going to be like. Like, are we going to have any other defensive maneuvers besides sidestepping? I'll see what else you could do. It's not really, Virtua Fighter's not one of those games like Street Fighter where they would have like some kind of drive rush or drive impact or whatever. And I'm perfectly fine with how Virtua Fighter is. But I would like them to have like more better variety in their stages, like be like Dead or Alive kind of, just have destructible environments, which it seems like it might with what little gameplay we saw of VF6. Because I think 3D fighters really need to take advantage more of them being 3D. Like, don't get me wrong, the stages we have here are fine, but I would really like to see more variety. And Akira is still a character I struggle against. But yeah, like, and how about ring outs? What are you guys' opinions on ring outs? Like, Soul Calibur had them too, and some people aren't a huge fan of ring outs because you could like be winning a fight, and then it's like, oh, you got hit out of the ring. Now it doesn't matter that you had like full health, and sometimes you could accidentally ring yourself out if you're like doing the wrong kind of move and stuff. So I can see why some people would hate it, but I also think that it's also kind of part of like a 3D fighting game strategy or skill, you know, being able to position yourself. Because 3D fighters, and even in 2D fighters, because you don't want to get like in the corner, a huge part of the game is about positioning and taking advantage of it and stuff like that. So it's okay with me. For me, it just that sometimes, yeah, it can suck to lose a match at that, but sometimes you can win a match like that you were losing like that. So it's like, okay, you know, it can go both ways. Of course, there are some stages that you can't get rung out because there's like a cage or something, and that's fine. You can just play on those if you don't want ring outs. But also there's stages in this game that was a nice sidestep, in this game that have both a cage and not a cage. Like, it switches off between rounds, which is interesting. Alright, so we beat the arcade mode with Brad, but we still got to go through this thing. I kind of wish I could switch this off. I don't like facing this character. See, in a round like this, I'd have to try to do a ring out if I want to win. Which is not easy against a character like this. But that would have been my only hope in this round, which didn't happen. So, as I've said, Brad is one of those characters where I really like playing with him. He's probably one of my favorite characters to actually play, even if I'm not great with them, and even though he's not great against the CPU because they always input read. But it's one of those characters that you want to be your main against your better judgment. You know? Like, this is one of those characters that you don't want to get input read by the CPU because they'll always punish you really hard. But it's like, I don't care. I'm going to die on this hill, and I'm going to play this character. Because I don't play competitively, so it's like, who cares? You know, if I enjoy playing a character, I have fun with them, I don't care if they're... unless they're, like, absolute trash. But, you know, so it's like, against my better judgment, maybe I'll do Brad because I just love playing as him too much. But who knows? Maybe I'll find someone else who I really love playing during my little journey that I'm doing here. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.